Thanks for joining us this morning as we explore the true myth of Captain America, the First Avenger, otherwise known as...
The dude had a moral compass.
Yes, he did.
Strong one.
And according to our poll, it was pretty much on top. Now, we have a previous video on why C.S. Lewis believed in true myth. And this is C.S. Lewis, J.R.R. Tolkien. This is what we're kind of basing these off of a little bit, is the idea that you have a story behind a story. And these underlying stories, these characters, these archetypes that are here that we sort of gravitate to and make foundational myths from are really nothing more than a pale reflection of a true myth. Now, this is C.S. Lewis's idea, not that myth in our modern parlance that is not something that is not true, but instead a myth being foundational truth behind a story. And true myth, then, all of these reflect true myth, and true myth is the actual story of Jesus Christ. And I'm not saying, first of all, say right out, I'm not saying in all these stories that we have today, or even in ancient stories, that they are a real direct depiction of Jesus Christ. Not at all. Instead, they are pale imitations of it at their roots. And you have the ultimate story about Jesus there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pull this out of Captain America First Avenger today, and then look at what the true story about Jesus is behind it all. And I'm kind of basing this off of a quote from C.S. Lewis. And this is in his letter to Arthur Greeves. He wrote, "Now the story of Christ is simply a true myth, a myth working on us in the same way as others, but with this tremendous difference, that it really happened. And one must be content to accept it in the same way, remembering that it is God's myth, where the others are men's myth, i.e. the pagan stories are God expressing himself through the minds of poets, such as images as he found there, while Christianity is God expressing himself through what we call real things." There's another book that I wanted to share with you too, and this is from Frank Turek and his son Zach. They wrote this Hollywood Heroes. In this book, you'll find that there are favorite movie heroes patterned after the ultimate hero, Jesus of Nazareth. Big screen stories parallel the real world fight between good and evil. Movies and characters can impart inspiring biblical life lessons on justice, purpose, courage, strength, sacrifice, faith, and love. Now, going forward from here, we're going to have a spoiler alert, because Captain America First Avenger is an older movie. And if you haven't seen it yet and you want to see it,
why are you waiting? Yeah. Just go do it.
Just go do it. And then we'll talk. Or if you really don't want to see it and you just don't care about spoilers, go ahead and continue with the video. We're good with that either way. So we took a poll. We asked the question, what is the most attractive characteristic of Captain America to you? Tell us why in the comments. Now, and I said that this is a preparation for our live stream today. And you have 4 different choices: strong moral compass, courageous, but not the most powerful, leads by examples, and others described in the comments. So as you can see, strong moral compass was by far the strongest characteristic for Captain America. And what I meant by this, and maybe I kind of ruined it a little bit by phrasing it this way, but I'm limited to 36 characters. What I meant was he's not the most powerful of the Avengers that are collected later. In fact, he's just a regular guy, basically on super steroids. And there are other more powerful characters than him, like probably Thor would be on the top of the list that's there. And they have natural abilities that far exceed his. But what makes him stand out, and what makes him a leader here, is that it doesn't matter what the power is as much as the heart behind it, and how he uses and the courage to stand up. And as we go through these movies, we'll find that, hey, this really is exemplified, and they do a great job of keeping with that character. So you only got 8% for courageous, but not the most powerful. 25% for leads by example, and 6% for other. I'm going to take a look at the comments here for this to see what we have. First one was from Nicodemus, his pentagram weapon. No, that's not a pentagram. It's a 5-pointed star because it was a symbol of America, and there are 5-pointed stars on the flag. And he was supposed to be, we'll find out that how he got started, he was just an American hero. So that's all that is. Then we have Rundus045 says, all three, I'm going to have to go with courage in Endgame when he walks toward Thanos in his army alone. That's what makes his character so admirable. He didn't know backup was coming. He was walking forward, ready to fight. Man, that was an awesome picture. And it really does typify, Endgame really wrapped up the whole MCU with these characters. Of course, there were some other movies that came after it, but it really was like the ultimate there. And here is Cap. He's down for the count, and he gets back up. Basically, I can do this all day, and that was a good way to put it. Isgul said, I think his strong moral character is what I like the most. The older I get, the more I realize a character is important no matter what we do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask how old you are, but hey, I think you're right, 100%, that the character is, and character is one of the few things that we take with us. We don't take all our possessions; they're gone. And as far as wisdom and knowledge goes, we're going to have a lot more knowledge where we're going anyway. So, does it really matter if you know pi to 100 digits? No. And Mr. Archer said, having courage and a strong moral compass doesn't mean much unless you set the example through your deeds. Lots of us know good from evil, but still do evil. A lot of bad folks have plenty of courage. We truly know the good by its fruit. Yeah, I think this was an excellent answer, because it's showing how all those different aspects that we have here, the courage, strong moral compass, and lead by example, you really have to have all three. And you did a great job of pulling that apart and saying, listen, if you just have one or the other, without the other two, it's going to all fall apart. So awesome. And I'm going to take a look at the comment section here too, because we already have some that have come in, and we're going to keep a look on this because this is really going to be a discussion going back and forth as we're looking at this character. Let's see. John, look out. There's a cowboy right next to you.
Howdy.
Do you want to say why you're wearing the hat today?
That's my normal.
Oh, okay.
My normal shindig.
Okay, he's got his normal shindig.
Whole emblem thing and everything.
He's styling this morning. And then we've got Thomas Hall said, if you consider his origin, he did nothing to gain his power. He didn't work for it. But it's what he did with it that made him heroic. Christians don't earn our blessings either. Man, we got some guys that are on fire here this morning. So yeah, let's talk about that for a moment here. We're going to go into his actual storyline in the First Avenger, where he comes out, and the whole grenade scene, everything like that is
gotta be the best one.
If we had more people like this today, more character, this would be a far, far better world. The love for your fellow man and woman to be able to lay your life down for him or her, or the real call to duty, the real call to loyalty, all of that. It seems like these are virtues that we've lost a lot along the way. And I think it's worthwhile to harken back to that, say, yeah, I like to do that. And then reflect on, what about Jesus' call to duty? What about his loyalty? What about his sacrifice for everybody? We'll get to that here in a minute. This is great. And please keep these coming, because as we look into this character deeper, we're going to be able to pull out some more of these. We still have the spoiler. We want to make sure that somebody made a comment that we were sharing some things before in another video and we hadn't put spoiler on it. Whenever I put up another graphic, the spoiler alert gets kicked off. But going forward here, just know that that's the case. In 1941, Jack Kirby did a comic strip for a patriotic hero that was going to go out and battle the bad guys. In this case, yes, indeed, it was Hitler. So many times a day we reflect like the worst, it's like, that was just like Hitler. Well, this was Hitler. And yes, that's what started the First Avenger series. Jack Kirby, then with Stan Lee, were two of the founders for Marvel Comics, which then developed the MCU later on. So we first meet Steve Rogers as a big, buff dude full of power, able to basically warp through space and time and beat up all the bad guys without a second glance, right?
No, you're a wussy little kid.
Wussy little kid. And
wussy little kid.
And then he really wants to be a part of the war effort. All these guys are going out. He's left behind. And he wants to give his effort into the war, just like everybody else that's making these sacrifices. But he can't, because he's a little wussy kid. He's a little wussy kid. And they had higher standards maybe than what we have today. And there's no way that they were going to let him in, as much as he tried, as much as he's lied. And there were kids during World War II that really wanted to do that. And I think the youngest who was caught signing up, and I think is actually recruited, was 14. And so there was this real sense of honor that people had to say, I want to get in there and do this. So he can't until he finds this scientist who takes him in, gives him the super drug. He gets his power. And the point is, his character remains. He does not change through this. And as an author, generally speaking, you want to have a character arc, somebody who has a character flaw, has the growth challenge, and then at the end of the story has had a change where you do see that they're a better person for it, unless it's an anti-hero, and then you don't do that. But generally speaking, that's what you do. Captain America, really no change through all the movies. He is basically the same guy, but it's okay. I think we need some characters like that are solid from the beginning to the end.
It's more of a physical change.
Yeah.
In the first movie, at least.
Right. So then after he got this change, then what happened? He gets recruited. He goes, basically kicks some butt.
Does his service, kicks some butt. Well, after being paraded around as a showpiece.
Yes. Yeah. And
and eventually gets like, okay, I got to actually do something.
He gets his chance. And then Red Skull, the end of the story. And then it continues. His character continues through the Avengers and the other Captain America movies, which we will be covering in future videos. In fact, we're going to be doing the next one in the series come Thursday. And we'll walk through these, all 7 movies, and look at his character. Does it change? What attributes do we pull out? And again, looking for true myth and how that reflects Christ, and we can talk to people. We're basically doing what, in looking at these movies together, we're pulling out these characteristics and saying, this is what we're looking for, guys. How then can we apply this and talk to other people who, again, would maybe never step foot in a church, but know Captain America, and there's some of these other iconic myths that we watch either on movies or in books. Go from there. So we're going to watch a video. This is a short clip of basically a summary of it, and then I'm going to open up to chat, and we're going to have an open discussion here and ask 4 different questions. So before we watch the videos, I'm going to let you know what the questions are. First one is, what's the most attractive, unattractive characteristic of Captain America and why? Basically, this is what I put in the poll. Second question is, Captain America and Iron Man make each other and their team better. Can you think of someone in your life who makes you better, and have you told them? Now, the have you told them part, that's, I mean, feel free to share that, but that's more of a personal question. The main thing is, can you imagine somebody who is like that? Number 3, Captain America is other focused. His moral compass compels him to help others. Who do you know who tends to be other focused, and in what way do they do that helps them maintain that focus? Number 4, Captain America shows allegiance to the truth over government when it's necessary. When is it necessary for Christians to disobey their government peacefully? Now, this is a bit of a loaded question, but think of these things as we go through as I share the video.
Just give me a chance.
Sorry, son.
You just don't know when to give up. I could do this all day.
Do you have something against running away?
You start running, they'll never let you stop. There are men laying down their lives. I got no right to do any less than them.
A super soldier.
When you brought a 90-pound asthmatic onto my army base, I let it slide.
I am looking for qualities beyond the physical.
You win wars with guts.
Grenade! Everybody down!
Is this a test? He's still skinny.
You actually did it.
I asked for an army and all I got was you.
Congratulations. You just got promoted.
What made you so special?
Nothing. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
So, little clips, not a whole lot, but give you a taste of what's going on there. When I brought a 90-pound asthmatic onto the base, I thought it would be cute, like a gerbil. And then he goes through the rest of it. Probably one of the best lines there. So what would you say is his most important characteristic? We had the poll. What would your estimate?
I'd agree. The moral character, the valuing others above himself, being able to look at the entire group and say, I'm willing to sacrifice for this. Having the ideals and being willing to sacrifice for them. I said the grenade scene is pretty much the typical, that's what you should do.
Right. I would agree with you with that. And that, because he had that, the others were willing to follow them. They see that. Isgul said, punch Hitler in the face. Well, yes, he had that opportunity. And I think wasn't that in the part of the play that he did too, when he was recruiting?
That was the main part.
Yes. I feel bad for the dude who wants to watch the next Captain America movie, but has to watch over 200 movies and TV shows
in order to get prepped for it, to understand the entire context.
Yes, that is true. He says, just catch up on what's happening in the movie. Yes. And Thomas said, it's pretty twisted. The Nazis IRL want to be the Superman that Nietzsche wrote about. That's an evil concept. The character of Cap was using that idea to fight the Nazis. Yeah, so the Ubermensch, the Superman ideal is, you could say these like this. So I'm going to open this up as to say in the question here, what is the most attractive, unattractive character that's here? I'm going to turn this around a little bit and say, what character do you see in him that's Christ-like? Jesus. What parallels would you say that are there?
Well, there's the sacrifice, the willing to put others before oneself, even if it causes pain and suffering. Being willing to do that. Just being good-hearted, being willing to help, being willing to engage. Yeah,
I think another thing with the overall writing of loyalty and sense of duty. Jesus there before the Garden of Gethsemane, before the cross, was saying, Lord, not my will, but yours be done, and willing to go to that great sacrifice. And I'd say one step that's beyond, of course he's got, so it's he goes way beyond Captain America. But one other thing that Jesus does is he is willing to sacrifice for not only people he doesn't know, but people that have betrayed him. Lay his life down for those he knows that are just flat out sinners. That has that trumps over anything that Captain America or any other character in the MCU is willing to do, because you're laying your life down for either people you know, or if you don't know, that they're just generally good people, and not Jesus. He went the other way. Damyan Kuzmich said, "Skinny Captain America become jacked, weak Bruce Banner become build Hulk." Yeah, now the story behind the Hulk, Bruce Banner was trying to mimic what had happened to Captain America, right?
Yeah,
At least in the
retcons
story
version.
as given in here. What's that?
At least in the most recent version of
Right.
the MCU.
Right. That they mention here. There's a little bit of retconning going on, but
Because you had the first two movies of the Hulk beforehand that weren't.
yeah, he didn't mention
weren't in
anything
line
about
with
that, right?
Nope.
No. But at least in the movies here, they said that he did. So now the second question is, Captain America and Iron Man make each other and their team better. And we can compare and contrast the two of those, but can you think of someone in your life who makes you better, and have you told them? I can think of one. It's kind of cheating, but I'm thinking about my wife.
I go with my wife.
Yeah, that's probably good. If you have
Husbands, if you don't go with your wife, don't say anything, because it's better you just
she
keep
might
quiet.
be watching.
You never know. Just keep quiet.
That's right. Well, hopefully she's your best friend, and hopefully she does make you better and you make her better. You know, and if you don't have that relationship with your wife, hopefully that's something that you will have soon in the future, because there are some bad relationships out there. But if you do, it's an awesome thing to have behind you. And then the question is, have you told her that recently? And if you're a wife, and have you told your husband that he makes you a better person?
Maybe more patient.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe
How
more
does that happen?
ability to endure stupidity.
You're gonna make me spill my coffee. No.
I'm just saying, you know, there are many traits that can be worked on that a husband can help his wife with.
That's true.
And that's some of them.
Never pray for patience, right? It's true. My wife does make me a better man, and that's good. It's good. It's far better that your wife makes you a better man than she make you a better woman, and we can all be grateful for that. Number 3, Captain America is other focused. His moral compass compels him to help others. Who do you know who tends to be other focused? And in what way do they keep themselves focused on it? What maintains that focus? So who do you know who's other focus?
I go with my wife again.
Oh my gosh, the wife comes out. But you know what?
She is.
Okay.
She's very outgoing. I'm very much an introvert. She's very much not an introvert. So she likes going to places. She likes going and engaging and talking with people. I mean, if I were to go to, one of the things I like going to are these apologetics conferences. Mm-hmm. They're really, really productive. And I would not go to them by myself. It would not be productive. I just end up sitting in the corner. There's too many people. So
here's something you said, not only for spouses, but something to be said about building a team. You build to your weaknesses. And if you have a wife, a spouse that counterbalances your weaknesses and shores up, and your strengths help her out, I guess there's really to be said about just kind of fitting together like that. And that's really it's a cool thing when it works out like that. Together, yes. You guys are more potent than either one of you just by yourselves. So that's good. And
yes, I would agree.
Yeah, Thomas.
Comment.
Thomas.
If not, I'd be in trouble. No,
it says, Ella, your wife is super smart. Yeah, I would say she's pretty smart. I would say that.
Well, you see, God will take those who are not smart and pair them
up
with those who are smart.
You're smart.
There you go.
You're smart. You're smart, and I'm not going to say
Hey,
you're
it's low hanging fruit.
I
so
know it's
had to
not.
hit that
Yeah,
one.
I'm not going to say you're smart in your way either. You know, so no, you are.
Oh, you're smart in your special way.
That's right.
Wink.
Bless his
Uh-huh.
heart. He's so smart. Yeah. Yeah. It's like one of those phrases, catchphrases that everything you say after that can be like an insult, but you're making it sound like it's good. You know, you're really you flip the insult around instead of saying like you're man,
You're an idiot. Oh, wait. You're really smart in a very special way.
in your own way. Yes. And then is cool added says, I have a coworker at work. Well, it's good that your coworkers at work who has become one of my mentors to help me be a better salesman and eventually a better manager. If I get the promotion I'm working towards. Well, I hope you get it. That's good.
Sure.
And to have so now we've ventured out of the realm of wives and husbands. So as a coworker, and that's good that you do have somebody who's looking
Mentors
out for
are great.
Yeah. I think that we have really missed something with focusing so much on just going to college that mentorship, I think in most ways trumps college. And I'm not really a college hater. I've got 11 years behind me for what it's worth. But I think we ended up pushing too much onto that and have missed the mark. And the older people in our world right now, we really need to learn from them because there is some tribal knowledge that when they're gone, we're going to miss out. So we need to latch on to them and learn from them. It has nothing to do with Captain America. But
I think one of the cool things was, I know we did a review on it, but the C.S. Lewis movie that we did, and he had a mentor that he went and studied under for quite a while. And that was very interesting because it's not something we have really in our culture nowadays.
No. It would be nice to have who's more like a tutor, a personal tutor.
It's like a personal tutor. He went and he lived with him, and it got him thinking in a certain way.
Right.
So
wasn't just
was it
doing
the
homework. It was
locker
actually being a mini me type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Made a difference. Number 4, Captain America shows allegiance to the truth over his government. When is it necessary for Christians to disobey their government peacefully? I don't know if I would have put this question up here, but this was a question out of Frank Turek's book. And I thought, man, it's worth putting that up there. And especially since now that we see some changes going on in government that we say, man, I don't know if I could follow that. I don't know if I could do that. And so it is a very tough moral question to ask. When is it necessary for Christians to disobey their government? And he put the qualifier here, peacefully. When would we do that? When would that be there? And I'm going to keep an eye open for the chat for you guys. Any comments on this one at all? For doing this as an open discussion. And while I'm waiting for a comment there, and also for you to think about it for a minute, look at when in this we do. Okay, I'm going to hold off on that, Hutchie. Thank you. So when in the movie, we're talking just about this first one because there's other situations like in Civil War where he does this, definitely. Is there a situation where he does that in this first one? I think it is when he goes against the enemy, and it is against orders because he was told to hold back. I think this is more of a question strongly in Civil War when Hydra then infiltrates SHIELD. When you have that level of infiltration and the original premise that the government was based on has been flipped on its head, and now it is something instead of liberty, you have tyranny that's come up. That might be something to look at. So, we got a couple here. So Hutchie said, Scottish hate. I gotta say this.
Crime.
Can I try my Scottish accent? It's gonna be terrible. I need to get Hutchie here to say it correctly. Scottish hate crime laws are a perfect example. Government introduced laws saying that if I say a man is a man, it could be a hate crime.
Yep. That was a recent development, if memory serves.
I look at that and say, has the UK gone nuts? I mean, I look at the US. I know for a fact we have on some of these things.
Yeah, we've gone nuts.
It's an embarrassment for some of this. I was talking to my wife the other day. I say, I'm embarrassed to admit that I'm an American, because you go to like What Is a Man? Who did that? It was
Michael Knowles.
No, not Michael Knowles.
Someone else.
Bearded Baby. Yeah, someone's
Bearded Baby. Okay, okay.
Well, he's got No, that's a moniker they have on his show, and I watch his show too. I should be able to remember his name. But anyway, he did that interview. What is a woman? And he went down to Africa and he asked the question, "What is a woman?" And they're laughing at him. And we got, it says the other guy. No, they were laughing at us. Says, "Are you kidding? This is stupid." It not being able to tell. And sometimes, a person might kind of like, is that a guy or a girl? But for the most part, Matt Walsh. Thank you.
I cheated. Yes,
thank you, Thomas. God, I can't believe I drew a blank on that one. And I'm going to put you up here because you deserve the glory. So Matt Walsh went to Africa. It's like he's asking these guys, and they thought he was nuts. We are nuts. I never thought 20 years ago we'd be asking this question. Have we had some kind of alien brain warping mind meld thing going on here? I mean, what in the world? Why are we even going this direction? It's incredible. I can't even believe it. So I'm going to put this up here because I think we just fired up the chat with this one question. Thank you very much, Hutchie, for bringing that forward. So this is answering the previous question here, and then I think we'll get back into what is a woman. We're supposed to be disciples. We should have all other people in our lives we're walking through to the Christian faith, especially people wiser than us. Yes. There is a personal, hopefully you have that kind of relationship with other people in the church that older men can impart wisdom to younger men and have opportunities, like do work projects with them or something like that. Work with these younger guys. Give them the years of wisdom that you have that the Lord is bestowed at you. And the younger guys, hopefully they're not too prideful to be able to pick up on some of this stuff. I think it really is. I think it should be a function of the church, ministry of the church. And then back to what Hutchie was saying about the whole hate crime thing. He says it's an assault on truth. It's an assault on nature. It's totally incomprehensible. Like Daniel and his friends, we should peacefully disobey the government when it commands us to disobey clear commands of God. Like the apostles, we should stand up for the truth. Yes. And it's not so much as far as taxes go, as much as I hate taxes. Okay. There is that. Jesus said, "Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's." And I almost wonder if God allowed the Roman government to be so corrupt so that such a teaching like that can be given when Jesus says, give to these people. And these are the very people that had occupied and held Israel down, held Judea down, his people. They were an occupying force. And Jesus said, give to them. And so it's not that, but it's where these moral issues where the government comes by and says, you are compelled to do these things. And I think that's where we would stand up and make the difference. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think Isgul has got this one nailed. Let's look at some of these others. And we have a winner, Thomas. It should also be perceived as a hate crime if I tell a Muslim the truth about their prophet. I hope jail food is good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the more interesting things. I had a friend of ours come over from the UK. She came over from the UK, Hatun Tosh, and that was one of the things that she pointed out that was like, oh, this is different.
You mean here in the US?
Yeah, here in the US, where we're able to just talk, just engage, be like, no, that's not right.
So for her, having the American freedom of speech is
something they have in a very select area called Speaker's Corner.
Mhm.
Outside of that, no.
That is so sad. That is so contrary to having been raised and grown up in America. I can't imagine that. Now, there has been more restrictions on, of course, like in one of the places that previous employments that I had, they had HR coming to gather everybody together. Okay, we're gonna do a company meeting, and they gather everybody into this conference room, and they're talking about these policies. Usually, it's like, okay, this next quarter we're going to do X, Y, Z, blah blah blah, and they talk about their focus and stuff like that. Instead, this is run by HR, and she starts going through how there's multiple genders, how we're just going to be nice to each other, and there are protected classes of people, and on and on. And it was a very uncomfortable situation. I almost lost my job there. I was on the edge thinking, at what point is this going to cross the line for me? Then I'm going to make a statement and leave. It was very close. And I ended up doing that with that position anyway later on for something similar. I ended up losing my job because I said, no, not going to do that. But yeah, these are interesting that in the UK that you don't have that. I'm really grateful for the United States founding fathers on putting together the Constitution, the Bill of Rights that they did to say these are foundational rights endowed by our Creator. And we're going to say this first off: the government cannot take these laws, these rights from us. We're protected. And I think there's a different mindset in the U.S. It's like God has given us these rights, and the government can't take them away. And in Europe, from what I understand, the general mindset is the government issues the rights. And since the government issues the rights, the government can take those rights away.
Yeah. In fact, I did have that sort of situation. Called up my local sheriff and gave the rundown. I had a bunch of questions about some laws. And I just figured I'd go straight to them because they're the ones who are going to enforce it. So their understanding is really valuable when it comes to push and shove. So I called him up and gave him a bunch of lists. And that's one of the things he said is if it's not on the books, if it does not say you cannot do something, you can do it. Where in the UK, we're not in the UK where it's the opposite. You have to have laws to allow you to do things.
Yeah. Wow.
And if it's not on the laws, then generally it's not allowed.
Yeah. So Damjan Kuzmic said, why on picture near John Newton Sci-Fi and Captain America have hammer? Isn't hammer belong to Thor? Shield of Captain America, something like exoskeleton of Iron Man? Yes, I think that was because of Endgame. He was worthy and he picked up the hammer. So I think that's where that if you're talking about the thumbnail for the video, that's where that came from.
I was mildly confused.
And I should probably
I haven't seen the thumbnail.
Do I have a copy of that here? No, I don't have that up ready to go. But the thumbnail, and I might be changing that because originally for this video I was going to be doing all 7 movies, and it was too much. So I thought we're going to break this up. We're going to do this over a series of time. So, and then Thomas Hall said, you have to have the courage to face the consequences.
Yep.
I believe that you're probably talking about standing up for where there's this conflict between what the government says and what the Bible says, especially on we're talking about moral issues, right? Having the courage to stand up and face the consequences. And then that might bring us back to Captain America is when COVID hit, I used to have the phrase, hey, take care when I'm leaving. Take care. I'm trying to get myself in the habit of saying, take courage instead of taking care. Because I think we've become a society that's too much concerned with wanting to take care. I've got to, shelter. I've got to make sure I'm sheltered in place and take care of myself. And like, we got to be willing to sacrifice ourselves. Carol B said, freedom of speech is not expressly guaranteed in the British Constitution. It is unspoken assumption, but nothing protects it. And I think, isn't the same with Canada? Canada's the same way. And now there's compelled speech also in Canada with saying somebody's pronouns. I think they're in the same situation. As you said, we don't have a constitution in the UK.
Nope.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's a Magna Carta, right? That was, I don't know. I'm not sure if the Magna Carta, which U.S. Constitution was partly based upon. I'm not sure if the Magna Carta is a existing living document that can be referred to in jurisprudence within the UK or not. But I didn't want to open up another can of worms by bringing up COVID restrictions.
You didn't have to do it.
Don't get me started. Oh my gosh. Okay, we need to maybe have a live stream. I got to be careful on treading on that water, because when you I try to stay away from anything to do with politics, because you have our walk with Christ, and you can have some people that would be like pacifists and people that would be hawks concerning maybe a war situation. You have people on both sides of the political aisle, as long as those camps don't cross the line with moral issues within the church. They don't disagree with Christian theology. You can be in either camps. You look at Jesus. He had somebody who was a disciple that was former tax collector, worked with the occupying governments of the Romans, right? And you had somebody who was a zealot, who was like a revolutionary terrorist, so to speak, right? Who would be willing to fight against the government, a revolutionary. I shouldn't say a terrorist, a revolutionary. So you had both sides of the spectrum. They're both working there. They both start out there, but then the whole question of Jesus saying, "Work with it," and the whole think about where Christianity was with. We're getting into a little bit of politics here, and I got to be careful. Think about how Christianity. Jesus said, turn the other cheek, and there's other aspects of Christianity there where the early church was passive, took this passive role, whereas Judaism at the time took an active role against it. And you had the rebellion, and 70 AD, the destruction of Jerusalem, you had Masada, you had all that was going on. Finally, the Romans said, enough, guys, we're laying law here. The temple was destroyed. They put a temple up to, I think, Zeus and Athena was in its place. Totally wiped them out. Renamed. I think they even renamed the region Palestine at that time. That's when it became.
That's when it was. Yep, that's 160 something AD. Memory serves.
Yeah,
I think 163 if memory serves. But
so, and they were, and I wouldn't have blamed the Jews in taking that stance against the Roman government the way that they did, but. You had the Christians that are more passive, and they're getting persecuted. They're getting fed to lions. Everything is happening to them until the whole thing flips. And there's something to be said about focusing on God, not doing the whole rebellion thing. But if the line gets crossed, where do you stand up there? And I think we're called to stand up there too, right? To make a difference. I'm falling behind on the comments here. People trying to use Magna Carta in court, and it gets nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay. YouTube might also still be a bit touchy regarding COVID speech.
Don't know. It seems that they've dropped that mostly.
I think so. I've seen quite a bit of very interesting information about higher death rates, uncaused mortality. As like a shot through the roof after a certain incident following COVID. You see a lot of information on that. Isgul renamed the religion in the city of Jerusalem, or renamed the region and the city of Jerusalem. Yeah, what did they rename Jerusalem as?
I don't remember.
I forget. But, yeah, until Constantine came back and then tore down that particular temple and then put up a church in its place. So. Okay, we have, let's just kind of wrap this up with Captain America, the First Avenger. We have pulled out some characteristics that I think that are crucial for him, at least in Captain America, the First Avenger. We see courage, humility, and self-sacrifice, and attention to duty that were outstanding for him. And because of some of the comments that were made, I do believe, and I would agree, that these are all wrapped up and integral part of each other that make his character an outstanding. So how does this then make him Christ-like in that way? And I don't want to go too far off the edge here. There was, and I do have the video for it, but I do not have it ready. And that is where he does make the statement. I'll put it in the next live stream. I'll have it there. He does make the statement that there is only one God, ma'am, and he doesn't dress like that. So I don't know if you could say that he's actually a Christian, but he does look like he very well could be in the story. So we talked about him laying down his life for his fellow compatriots and for people he didn't know. He also has humility that drove him to that, and courage that brought him to that. So all these things get wrapped up. This is a part of Christ. And I think this is something that we should become more like too, especially with courage, not shrinking back, standing up for what you believe in. Even it's going to cost you your job. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to lay down your life for Christ if your job is threatened? If not, you might as well roll up your sleeve and receive the mark, because that was the very same thing. They'll just, if the enemy can get you to sacrifice your morals with God because you want to maintain your current life, you will lose it. You have to be willing to give up your life. And when you do, you'll gain it. So coming up next, we are going to be looking at other movies of Captain America and the Avengers, and then so forth through the series. There are 7 in all we're going to take a look at. We're going to do these snapshots of each one, and your feedback has been great. I love the discussion. Even though these are older movies, I think with the kind of mythos that is with the MCU is still with us, even though it's gone downhill since then. And we can use these as, again, talking points to the people around us to say, hey, you know, just like this guy, except Jesus, and go from there. And for what it's worth, I'll put this one last comment up here. Thomas Hall said, the Christians not participating in the revolt in 70 AD added to the rift between the Jews that followed Christ and those who didn't. I didn't know that. I could see that happening. And especially Jewish Christians, you know, ethnically still Jewish, they were living in that area. I could see that being a real strong, real point of contention there. All right. Well, until next time, thank you for joining us. It's been a great discussion. I look forward to more of these.